Welcome to the project. Tonight, the shocking IVF bungle that saw a mum give birth to another couple's child. It's every parent's nightmare, and we speak to a family who lived through it.
As federal election campaigning kicks into gear, we're asking the big questions to little Aussies with their fingers on the political pulse.
I heard a person called Anthony, but not Benesi.
Not Anthony Benesi, yep.
Oh, my favourite pastor. And just what the doctor ordered, literally, the physician turned BAFTA-winning comedian Adam Kay drops by.
Plus, they wear the Aussie soundtrack to the Northeast. These Super Jesus join us at the desk.
So thrilling, and we're live from the lands of the Kulin Nation. Susie Youssef is here.
Hello, good evening to you.
As we saw earlier. And thank you once again to Sharon Godella here tonight. Look, no spoilers, but it seems like Tunny's Amazing Race has been run.
Oh,
and
but she's done very well.
I know.
Obviously.
We have no idea.
But she would have.
Well, who knows? But we thank you very much for being here for the last few weeks. Thank you very much for your help.
I've enjoyed every minute of it. You've been so welcoming and lovely, so thank you very much.
But who's your favourite?
Look, it's... If I had to pick Suze, it would be you.
Same!
Well, for over 10 years, Amar Singh's charity has been putting food on the table for tens of thousands of Aussies in need. But now he says he might be forced to close.
Hey, how are you?
Amar Singh has dedicated his life to helping people.
Would you like some hot food as well? We've got rice and lentils curry.
Okay,
Yeah?
10 years ago, he founded Turbans for Australia, a charity at the coalface of Australia's cost of living crisis.
So we're the grassroots charity that people just, call up to, hey, I need hampers, I need help.
Amar says he started with two goals: feed people in need and changing minds.
Well, I started the charity after facing racism in my normal day-to-day life. I said, enough is enough. We need to do something about this and change people's perspective. And I think generosity has the great ability to change people's mind, but also create those long-lasting friendships.
From humble beginnings delivering food from the back of his truck, Turbans for Australia now has warehouses in Sydney and Melbourne delivering 5,000 food hampers a month, with plans to expand into Brisbane, Adelaide and Alice Springs.
So it's wherever the need is we go, but I think it's also been the generosity of average Australian that has got us so far.
The cost of living crisis has seen demand for Amar's service skyrocket, but donations have also fallen by 50% as people feel the pinch.
We're seeing demand close to the COVID lockdowns. It's gone up by 40%, and yet cost of living means that donations are going backward.
With the charity now stretched to breaking point, Turbans for Australia is calling for urgent government funding to the tune of $6.6 million.
We're not asking for some stupid amount of money, we're asking just for basics, so we can hit the ground running and make it work.
Today, the government promised if re-elected, they'll provide $1.6 million to help Turbans for Australia set up operations, but just for a new program in Perth.
I'm a huge supporter of not just the material support that they provide, but that sense of belonging and that sense to people that they are not alone, that there's somebody out there who cares for them.
While Amar says any funding is welcome, that money won't help keep his charity on the East Coast, which is where all the people he currently helps are located.
Well, we might not be here. Simple as that. If we don't get the funding, how much can we keep pushing?
For Amar, helping people isn't the type of job he can switch off from. He receives calls from desperate people, often well into the night.
I'm struggling and I need food. Could you please give me a call back, please? I've got nothing at home. I've got stale bread and please, I need food. Thank you.
Starting Turbans for Australia was a way to give back. But for me, it's full on. I love what I do, and I feel I'm in a very blessed position to be able to help so many and create these wonderful stories and meet so many people.
And we're joined now by Amar Singh. And Amar, today's funding is great news, but we are in the middle of a cost of living crisis. If you don't get more, what will that mean?
That means we'll just have to work hard and go back to our original donors and pledge for more money from them. But what we need right now is a huge cage induction so we can build the infrastructure that we require to be able to serve Australians in need, and especially during this cost of living crisis, but ongoing. Sadly, too many people are finding it hard to put food on the table. Approximately 500,000 Australians will struggle to put food on the table every night. This is a huge, shocking figure.
And if you can't serve everyone that is in need, what would it mean to you personally if you did have to start turning people away?
Look, it'll break my heart. I love to help people. This is what we've done. We've built this charity from the cab of my truck to where it is today. But I don't like to turn people away. We are the ones that find ways to get stuff done. So for us, this is what we're trying to do now is ask the government from both Labor and Liberal sides to say, hey, commit this funding to us so we can keep and help serving those Aussies in need in times of disaster, but also ongoing. Cost of living crisis is the silent disaster. In my 10 years of charity work, I've never seen it this bad.
It's amazing what we saw earlier, the way that you were helping people. And we first spoke to you, you just said you've been doing it for 10 years. We spoke to you about 5 years ago was the first time. And the charity has grown so much since then. You're now providing food to 5,000 people a month. Obviously very important to them, but how important is the charity to you?
Oh, it's part of my life now. You know, I've sacrificed a lot in my personal life with family. I've got a young family. You know, last time I went to LA for the bushfires there, I missed my little daughter's 6th birthday. So this is the cost you pay, and all the travel and weekend work because all our hampers on Sunday. So I miss out a lot on family time, but it also gives me a sense of belonging. But the young kids around us and even my own kids love what I do, and they're always saying, hey, Dad, we need to help more people. So this is not just a charity thing, it's more of a community and helping those vulnerable people in times of need, and I want to be able to do more.
Amar, you do such an amazing job. You are literally saving lives and you're building community, which is so important. When you think about all the people that you've helped, is there someone who stands out in your memory?
Plenty of people. I remember a gentleman that has been coming to us for almost two years in one of our warehouses to pick up food hampers. And a couple of months ago, he goes, hey, by the way, I always wanted to ask you this. I said, what is it? Are you not getting the right hamper? He said, no, I wanted to see if I can help before I pick up a hamper. So I have a lot of respect for the clients that come to us. They're not people who are just there to take. They also want to give back. I had a lovely old couple that come to us. The lady knitted me a scarf. She said, Mr. Singh, this is for you. So those sort of gifts and the blessings I get from these people is absolutely huge for me.
You put your heart and soul into it, don't you, Amar? Well, if you want to make a donation or volunteer to help Turbans for Charity, head to our website where you'll find all the details. Would you please thank Amar Singh?
Thank you.
Time for a break. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. This is The Project.
Let's get into today's top stories. The family on board the helicopter that spun out of control and crashed into New York's Hudson River has been identified. Siemens executive Augustin Escobar and his wife Mercedes Camprubi Montal were on holidays with their 3 children. All 6 people on board the aircraft, including the pilot, have died.
There are many unknowns here, but with our federal, state and city partners, we'll find out exactly what happened.
Doctors have issued a stark warning. The 2025 flu season is on track to be even worse than last year's, where more than 365,000 cases made it the worst season on record. Aussies are being urged to get their flu jabs ASAP. Twice as many cases have been reported this year compared to the same time last year. Unbelievable scenes at a Melbourne brewery after a beer tank exploded in Footscray. A few hops made a break for it when a tank valve burst. Then it was raining beer and no one put up their umbrella. But luckily, Hop Nation Brewing Company confirmed the beer is okay. And a moment from the Run for the Kids charity race has captured the nation's heart. A Melbourne dad was seen picking up his 2 kids before jogging with them towards the finish line. He then popped them down and they ran the final stretch together. For the family, it was a special moment as their own son was in the neonatal intensive care unit just 4 months ago. Oh, very cute.
That is such a beautiful story. And I have to say, all of those images that we watched this afternoon, we were just thinking how gorgeous it is that that dad has so generously done that. But there was a little moment where I thought, he's just run 14 Ks. Do you really want to be carrying 2 kids over the finish line?
It would impact your time too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the guy with the pram coming up the back is like, I'm going to smoke this clown. And also that kid probably gets a medal for only running 10 metres at the end.
Yeah. And I would have loved to have seen the vision of Mum running the other way, shouting, "Freedom!"
Wine with the girls.
Yeah, woo.
Hey, speaking of sporty dads, US golfer Rory McIlroy took it was bring your kid to be a caddy day at the golfing green today. His 4-year-old daughter was golfing and he thought, let's see how she goes. Little 4-year-old, it's adorable. Well, here's how she went.
Rory McIlroy's daughter, Poppy, here with a long putt. Look at this. This is Poppy McIlroy. I was doing a golf announcement thing.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And here is Poppy McIlroy. Speaking of awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Guess where this is going?
Straight down the throat, everyone erupts. She gets all teary and Dad has to hug it because I think it hit her. Oh, God, now I have to play golf. Yeah, no?
It would be hard, wouldn't it, being the daughter of a golfer? Yeah. You're watching The Project. Back after this.
Very excited.
This is The Project.
Our next guest is a pop rocker with a treat for their faithful followers. Few Aussie bands define the turn of the millennium quite like the Super Jesus. The Adelaideans stormed mainstream radio and the charts, going on to land 9 top 50 hits, 2 top 10 albums and 3 arias. Now, disciples of the band, buckle in because the Super Jesus return with their first full-length album in 2 decades and a tour. Oh, please welcome from the Super Jesus, Sarah McLeod. Here we go.
Hello, darling.
I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Oh my gosh, we've got to do a TV show getting in the way of just catching up. So,
that's right. We can do it.
So what? First full-length album in 2 decades for you as a band.
Yes.
What made you decide that now was the time to get everybody back together?
Well, these days, making an album is really expensive. And you want to make sure that if you're going to put all of that energy and capital into making a new record, that you've got the songs and you've got the structure and the belief in the band and everybody's on the same page and everybody wants the same thing. And for a long time, we didn't have that. We had some problems with some members. We weren't getting along a little bit. There was some chemistry issues. We weren't happy with the songs. We weren't really focusing on the Super Jesus enough. I had gone solo. Mm-hmm. I lived in a different state. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, we'll do it. If a show comes up, great. But we weren't like, all right, let's do this. And then recently we found the thing and we gelled. All the songs fell into place and it was obvious. We went, now, baby.
Feels good.
Yeah. It's now!
So we're told this is the new Super Jesus. Is that what you mean by new? You've found a new something?
Yeah, we found this cute, thing that... Because we do everything ourselves, in this day and age, you have to do everything yourself. Like in the 90s, we didn't do anything. The record company did everything. And now we have to do everything ourselves. And it's this... it's a really cute, us against them, passion thing. And we sit there and we think, well, we need to... with stuff with Spotify and, we have to do tutorials constantly. Ruddy and I are constantly on the phone going, all right, can you learn how to send a MailChimp 5 hours later? I'll learn how to upload a song. And we have this cute little camaraderie now because we really want it to happen. And we feel like we're starting again.
Gosh, it used to be sex, drugs and rock and roll and now it's MailChimp? Jeez, it's changed, hasn't it?
When I asked Ruddy to make a MailChimp, he was like, yeah, he tries not to sort of bust my balls too much. So he was like, yeah, McLeod, no worries. And he hung up and I thought, yeah, he's got it. And he sat there and he had to Google what's a MailChimp. And it took him hours, but he did it, and that's how we do things.
I had the mail, but which chimp to send it to? Specify. Yeah. I love that you're sort of saying it's getting back to basics a bit. I don't know if I've ever told you this. When I moved to Melbourne, the first band I ever saw live was the Super Jesus at the Prince of Wales, and I went by myself, and because I was there by myself, I was able to push my way to the front, and I was right at the front of the stage, and there was a moment where I swear you sang at me, to me.
Did I know you didn't?
No, of course you didn't know me. I was little Joe Nobody.
How did you get in? Were you underage?
No, I was fine. I had super elevated shoes and I met the height restrictions. But it was so thrilling to get to see, you know, that grassroots sort of band. Like, I was gigging at the SB up the road sometimes.
Yeah?
And are you getting back to that sort of thing?
You're so young, you can barely get into the show, but you're gigging yourself. You've got to wear platform cork shoes.
Mate, don't make this about me. I'm talking about
that
you.
you have in the back of the car in case you want to go on the roller coaster.
I'm calling Mum going, I told you to wait out the front for me. But it's like, are you getting back to gigging like that? Like just that sort of real hardcore rock and roll, get back to your basics kind of performing as well in some of the venues that you're choosing?
Yeah, because we're like lifers, you know, like one of those bands that will be around forever, and we pride ourselves on our live show, and it's all about you just got to leave blood on the stage, you know? Like you go out there and you give it everything that you've got. Blood on the stage, sweat on the dance floor. That's a gig.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what you're doing on the stage. But in other amazing news, 2 days ago, you're announced as the chair of the Australian Women in Music, which is amazing.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be approached for something like that?
I love it because for years I've been noticing the inequalities in our industry, and, you know, we all have our sort of side discussions about it, but now I can actually be in a position where I can do something about it and I can help, and I'm going to do my best. There is massive inequality in our industry, especially in rock and roll. It's you know, slowly getting better, but God, we have such a long way to go. So I just want to try and create awareness and knock down some doors and create more opportunities for women and gender diverse folk to get their music out there and get noticed.
Well, let's
get
hope
the
you
show
can
on the
do
road.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah Love, you've released the album a couple of weeks ago. Is it right that you're actually getting requests for CDs?
Yeah.
Is that a thing now? What's that all about?
Yeah, all right. Well, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, Sharon. Because people are asking, I thought, I'm not going to, again, because, you know, we have to pay for it. Everything's so expensive. Like, now, I'm just to buy a whole bunch of CDs, and it'll be like, you know, a couple of drunk people go, oh, CDs, and then I'll buy like hundreds, and then no one will buy it. So I thought I'll go and I'll actually ask the people on Facebook. At least I've got their details, and if I'm stuck with all this stock, I can go, oh, hey, brother, you said you'd buy something, where you? But apparently it's a nostalgia thing. People still like to play them in their cars. I was surprised. But also, I reckon CDs and vinyl but is great because, and we have streaming, but like when I go to play music, I forget what I like because I don't have my library. So especially if I've got a party, like, you know, especially if it's an emergency party, you know, suddenly there's like 20 people inside and you're like, quick, and you're trying to make the drinks and you think, I've got to play some music. Now, what is it that I like? And you've got to go, unless you've got playlists ready, I get a bit sort of like, you know, bedazzled like a rabbit in the headlights. Whereas, you know, in the old days, I could go to my library and go, oh yeah, great, let's play that, and I've got the 5 stack.
You're saving lives and saving parties.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your music is recorded on, we love it. The new album from the Super Jesus is out now, and you can get tickets to their tour. Details are on our website. Would you please thank Sarah McLeod?
You're watching The Project. Back after this. This is The Project.
Well, there could be other families out there. That's the grim warning over a botched IVF treatment that's seen a Brisbane woman give birth to someone else's baby. Calls now for urgent regulation of the industry to stop further suffering.
I was absolutely horrified and absolutely bamboozled.
It's a terrible day for IVF in Australia.
A shock felt across the nation tonight.
This is obviously a devastating situation for everybody involved, and it's every parent's worst nightmare.
A Brisbane family who's endured the ordeal of IVF, finally giving birth to a healthy baby, only to learn the implanted embryo was someone else's. With reports late this afternoon, that child is now a toddler.
Because the IVF industry has expanded so significantly in the last few years, the more people accessing fertility services, the more likely something like this is to happen.
The Monash IVF stuff-up discovered in February when the family's remaining embryos were transferred to another provider and staff found one too many. The mistake put down to human error.
When you're talking about people's lives and children and families, that's not sufficient. They have to make sure that they have the best possible processes and procedures in place.
Monash maintains it has strict protocols and says it's reinforcing those safeguards. But experts claim the IVF industry as a whole has systemic, long-term issues.
I can't help but wonder if this has happened before and we just don't know about it.
Amidst all the finger-pointing are two grieving families trying to come to terms with the unfathomable.
I don't think any of us can imagine how difficult this must be for the families who are experiencing this. I mean, obviously IVF is its own journey of up and downs emotionally, and for this to be the outcome for both couples is absolutely devastating.
And with both families reported to be exploring their options, lawyers say the case could set a legal precedent.
Under Australian family law, the presumption is that the birth parents are the legal parents, but given this situation, I suspect there may be discussions that happen between the different parties.
Well, California couple Daphna and Alexander Cardinale have been through their own IVF nightmare in the US. At the age of 3 months, they discovered their daughter was genetically someone else's, and they join us now. And Alexander, it's hard to imagine how any parent would feel in this situation. At what point did you realise something wasn't quite right?
Well, thanks for having us on. I think I started to suspect it pretty early on, but I buried it pretty deep because, just such a nightmare to even think about. So the denial was strong with me. And then, about 3 months, we discovered through like a at-home DNA test that she was not related to us.
I think that for him and for most other people, they could see that she didn't really look like us. And I had a harder time recognizing that for a little while, but denial was strong.
Yeah, the denial was
with me. But I think it was mostly the appearance. She just looked different.
So then you told us that you have taken the DNA test. Tell us about the ensuing journey after that. How did you discover who had your genetic baby?
Well, we launched an investigation and we found that pretty quickly the clinic that we informed found that there had been somebody had implanted someone else's embryo into Daphna, and our embryo was implanted into that couple as well. It was only about a month in real life, but it was years of anguish, it seemed like, because every day was a little bit more information. You're gonna keep your daughter, or oh no, I think maybe we found her parents. Maybe you're probably gonna lose her now, and it was a lot of chaos for a while.
With the case here in Brisbane, Australia, we now understand that the child is a toddler. When you heard about it, how did you feel, and what do you think that the couple would be going through right now?
It's pretty gut-wrenching. I'm so angry that this keeps happening. I'm not surprised that this keeps happening. I mean, the rate of IVF is so high that there are bound to be mistakes, but they're so devastating when they happen. It's really crushing. And I think that there are ways to avoid mistakes as much as possible.
It destroys two families. We're 5 years in and we're just getting our feet underneath us.
I don't know that we'll ever be okay, to be perfectly honest, but we're doing the best we can. And I think when you look at the different mistakes that have been made with IVF, we're the lucky ones, which is crazy to me. But you're talking about ripple effects of trauma, multi-generational, that we can't even understand yet because our kids are so young. We have an almost 11-year-old and we have a 5-year-old, and who knows how this is going to impact them as they get older. But with the case in Australia, I don't know how they can.
Yeah, there's no great path forward. It's just gonna.
I'm just really heartbroken for them.
Yeah, our hearts go out to you and to all parents that have had to deal with this type of situation. Tell us, what's the relationship that you have now with the girls? They're 5 years of age. What's the relationship like now? Do they understand what's happened to them?
They do, actually, because at each stage, sort of in an age-appropriate way, we explained what had happened. And so they're okay, I think. They're best friends.
They call each other sisters.
Best friend sisters. And
yeah,
they see each other every week.
I mean, the families are now thriving, which is an incredible ending to the saga.
When we mention the girls, your faces both light up. And I can't imagine in this horrific story how there could be anything positive. But if you had any advice for the couples that are going through this in Australia, what would you say to them?
I don't know enough about the specifics of what they're dealing with. And I would never want to tell somebody else what to do, especially a parent in this situation.
Yeah.
But the thing that helped us was, while we're dealing with all the different really big feelings that we had, we did really put the kids first, and we tried to have our eye on the distance of what is the goal? And for us, the goal was, I don't want to lose this child. I cannot see a world where I survive losing this child. So if there's a way that I can keep her in my life, in any way possible, I want to do that. And when you have that in mind, you recognize the other parents as the gatekeepers to that child. You have to respect them. You have to respect their position. You have to understand that if you're the one who's letting go of a child, you have to let go of that child. You have to let the other parents be the parents and get out of the way of that and try to find a new relationship with the child, with the other family. It's not easy. It's probably the hardest thing you can imagine to do. But if you want to keep this child in your life, you have to find a way forward.
Well, it's wonderful that you have put the children first. That's very admirable of you. And we can only hope that that all the couples involved in this Brisbane case have a happy ending. Daphna and Alexander, we do thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Two more of today's top stories now. Anthony Albanese has reached out to Peter Dutton following reports the opposition leader was the target of an alleged terror plot. A 16-year-old boy has reportedly fronted court after allegedly buying bomb-making ingredients to prepare for an attack. But the goodwill did not extend to the campaign trail. Both leaders were out in full force, trading barbs over car costs.
And we're also going to axe Anthony Albanese's car and ute tax.
I find it extraordinary that Peter Dutton, who says he cares about the price of fuel, doesn't want people to have more fuel-efficient cars.
China has announced a new tariff of 125% on US imports, matching the recent increase from the US. It's the latest escalation in the growing trade war between the two countries that has the markets running scared. The Aussie stock market shed nearly $60 billion in value despite a brief rally as the US paused their tariffs against most of the world. And public health concerns are growing in Birmingham in the UK as tons of rubbish pile up on the streets during a fifth week of bin strikes. The dispute is about pay issues and cuts to waste collection roles, which has seen workers on an all-out strike since March. Locals have complained about the pests, rodents and stench, but no solution has been reached. That is one strike that stinks.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But it is all a matter of perspective because for the rats, this is the best thing that ever happened. So.
That's true. They're
I just
enjoying
say, unleash the ibis.
Where's a bin chicken when you need one?
Exactly. But in the UK, of course, this is big news. So they sent a reporter out to see how things are on the street. And look, he had a very interesting way of describing what he saw.
The bin strike that is now entering its second month. That's a hole in a bin bag created by a rat. There's holes all over the place. The rubbish is spilt out everywhere. The smell is, I'm going to go with fruity.
Do not want to go to a wine tasting with him. You, sir, need to buy better fruit. But like a true journalist, he was in the thick of it He's on the street, so he's asking all the hard questions.
He's coming to the butcher's with me. Door open. Rubbish everywhere. Oh, hello, sir. You work in the butcher's, obviously, or are you just carrying around a sheep?
You know what's terrifying? That's one of the rats.
Yeah. They're loving it.
But how bad must it be when it's like to mask the smell? No, we don't work at the butcher. I'm just trying to mask the smell. This is my air freshener.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, shut up and listen to me. Because tonight's weather forecast will have patches of humour and a 100% chance of remorse. It's time for Satellite Susie!
Thank you very much, Bo. Let's start in Brisbane, where it's 27 on Saturday and 27 on Sunday. That's right, all 27s. It's the 27 Club, except the good kind of 27 Club. More sunshine, fewer musicians dying. Melbourne will be hit with 30 on both days of this weekend, which means she just feels like she finally knows who she is. Melbourne, of course, at 30, perfect weather for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, which is indoors in the dark with strangers and someone else paying for the aircon. Am I right? Yes, I am. It's cooler in Hobart, and don't they know it, with temps in the low 20s, which is how I felt in my 20s. But unlike me, Tasmanians have scallop pies to muffle their cries. Oh, that rhymes, and it ain't no crime. I'm no Snoop Dogg. Let's move that along to Sydney, where the fine people of my hometown should expect some drizzle for shizzle. But don't grizzle, just sizzle a snizzle. Too much fun, Susan. That's enough. OK, to the NT, where Darwin is set for a scorcher, with Saturday hitting 32, buckle my shoe, and Sunday is 33 with a dicky knee, which reminds me I need to call my chiropractor. Perth, you're in your mid-20s, and good for you. And finally, it'll be super hot and 33 in Adelaide for AFL's Gather Round. If you're unfamiliar with Gather Round, it's like a festival of football. It's like a carousel of AFL. It's a carnival of sweaty men, and I tell you what, they can gather round me, is what I would say if I was single, but I am not single, Susie. I'm Satellite Susie. Say hi to your thermometer for me.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your trip to the chiropractor, and there's more project on the way. Stick around. This is the project.
There's the tunes. If you love Oasis, big trips and big wins, then listen up.
Next week on The Project, are you the ultimate Oasis fan? Before they land in Australia for their stadium tour, we're giving you and a friend the chance to see the Gallagher Brothers in London or Manchester. All you have to do is watch The Project, grab the code word and enter at 10play.com.au/win.
Getting that website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the code word down.
Got it. I think I know what it is. Just made it up.
Well, with the election around the corner, I went and got the lowdown on who the next generation of voters reckon should be our next PM.
Have you heard about this, the election?
No.
So an election is where we decide who's going to be the boss of Australia.
AKA the government.
AKA the government. Thank you, Max, 100%. Have you heard a lot about the election that's coming up?
No.
Where did you hear about it? Where do people talk about it?
My dad told me. On the news? Absolutely not.
So do you know who the Prime Minister is now? There's a guy called Anthony Albanese. Have you heard his name before?
I heard a person called Anthony, but not Benese.
Not Anthony Benese, yep.
I thought Donald Trump was.
Okay, so there's this guy that's Anthony Albanese. He's the Prime Minister right now.
Yeah.
And there's this guy, that's Peter Dutton. Which guy would you vote for to be the leader of the country?
Peter is a boy and girl name.
Peter is a boy and a girl name. You're absolutely right.
Well, Anthony.
Anthony?
Peter does look slimmer than Anthony.
That could be a Zoom issue, but I do hear you.
Anthony Benese.
Anthony Benese, yep.
Anthony Benese.
If only we could vote for Anthony Benese. Yeah. That guy? Anthony?
Peter.
Peter as well. So you're kind of in the Anthony camp, but you changed. A lot of people have been.
Maybe they could take turns. And one of them have it this year, the other one have it next year. I think Anthony would like to not share.
So say this guy wins and this guy has to get another job. What job do you think he should get?
A scientist job. If he puts a wig on, he might be a scientist.
Oh, yeah.
I think a builder, maybe?
He could be a builder. He's certainly interested in property. Yep.
President.
President.
I don't like Trump.
Okay.
Maybe he might get poor and he will be a pickpocket.
He does have an incredibly extensive property portfolio, but I hear what you're saying. And if this guy wins and this guy has to get a different job, what job do you think he should get?
Maybe a sport player. A vet. Dentist. A museum person.
A museum person. Okay. Well, I think they're both very good suggestions.
Maybe he could help Peter.
Maybe he could help Peter, yeah. That would be ideal if they worked together instead of, all the fighting. If you could pick anyone in the world that you know to be the Prime Minister of Australia, who would you choose?
My mum's brother, Uncle Jeff, a.k.a. Jeff.
A.k.a. Jeff.
My dad.
Yeah? What's he good at?
Stuff.
He's good at stuff?
The teacher's my cat.
Your cat?
In a bow tie.
Your cat in a bow tie?
My uncle.
Yeah? What's his name?
Tom.
And why do you think Tom would be a good Prime Minister?
He does really big hugs. My dad could be Prime Minister when he dies.
Oh, he could be like the ghost Prime Minister?
Oh, yeah, ghost Prime Minister. Yeah, that would be Prime Minister.
Okay. If you were Prime Minister, you're leading the whole of Australia, what would you change?
Every rule.
You'd change every rule?
Yeah.
It would be a revolution?
Yeah.
Okay.
No police is catching bad guys.
No more police catching bad guys?
No.
Okay, well, that sounds like a coup. I'm going to be careful if you get to be Prime Minister, that's for sure, Georgia.
I would change how high the prices are, because the prices are pretty high right now. Also, I think everyone should go to school. Even if you're poor, you get to go to school for free. I'll choose that everyone's safe and not be rude to people. Just be gentle.
Yep.
And also be kind to each other.
That is a great campaign policy. I really love that.
How gorgeous are they?
I'm going to say it, vote one, a.k.a. Jeff.
A.k.a. Jeff. Yep, or Tommy gives huge hugs. And a huge thank you. Oh, my gosh.
Look,
I mean, there's so many candidates.
At this point, it has a very good chance, Sharon.
I do have to say a huge thank you to the future leaders of this country at Brunswick South Primary School. I loved coming to chat with you, and to all your wonderful staff. And hopefully we'll be back soon.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, you're watching The Project. Back after this. The Project.
Time now for neighbourhood news. Neighbourhood news. In Sydney, a guy had two cars parked out the front of his house. They were crashed into by a stolen car, and he learned a very valuable lesson. Here is his eyewitness account.
Because what happened, I think the owner of the car, her husband was cheating on her with another woman.
Oh, my goodness.
I think the guy was more worried about his wife leaving him.
What does this mean for you now? I mean, you've got a fair bit of damage here.
Don't cheat on your wife.
Simple as that. I'm cheating on my wife. I've got to get out of here. Smash! And he's having a good time, having a bit of a giggle. And if you're wondering why he's so upbeat, here's why.
What do you do for work?
I've got a shop in Moorebank.
Okay.
Top Tech Automotive.
Oh.
If you need any car service.
Yeah, more rooting around. I have an extension to build.
Ka-ching, ka-ching. Well, time to welcome a man who truly has seen it all.
You get into medical school and then they squirt you out the other end as a house officer. Basically involves getting shouted at for 16 hours a day and being splashed with bodily fluids. Not even the fun kind.
Adam Kay is the doctor-turned-comic who pulled the curtain back on life inside the underfunded UK National Health Service.
When I left in 2010, I was this glitch in the matrix. No one left medicine. It was a job for life.
His memoir, This Is Going to Hurt, was a funny and devastating account of life on the Labour ward that was such a hit they turned it into a TV show too.
Oh my God, where's its Space? Space is fine. It's on the front of his head, not the back.
After 50 sold-out shows on the West End, the BAFTA winner is returning to our shores with stories about objects in orifices. His words, not ours.
This is really for the junior doctors.
Please welcome the BAFTA-winning Adam Kay. Now, normally when we have a guest on and we ask, how are you? I probably don't really mean it with so much as intent as I do for you, because you've just arrived from London with your family, which includes 2 toddlers, and you've only just arrived hours ago. How are you?
I'm used to screaming. I feel just sorry for the other people in our cabin on the plane.
Were they screaming?
Yes, they're not sleepers.
Now, they're at the toddling age. I found when my daughter was at toddling age and we were doing back and forth to other countries, there was a lot of she just wants to get up because she can move and she wants to just tour the plane like she's campaigning to be Prime Minister.
We had a lot of that.
Yes,
yeah,
sure.
and the woke society we live in means you can't just restrain them with cable ties, which is my pitch. But so, we just made ourselves unpopular with the cabin crew and the other staff. Yeah.
I would have used the cable ties. Now, Adam, under your Instagram byline, it reads, and I'll read this out, writer, BAFTA for Best Writer, lol. Why is it so funny to win an award?
Because I'm just some bloke, and I just found it absolutely baffling that people liked my stuff. No one ever trained me how to write, but here we are.
You're obviously very good at it.
You are such a funny... You have sold millions of copies of your book called This Is Going to Hurt. For the 2 people who have not read it, it's such funny writing, but about some really serious stuff. How do you find that balance?
So it's about my time working, obviously, as a junior doctor. I think any honest depiction of life on the wards has to be a mixture of the funny and the serious. And I think probably my way of coping was writing down the funny, the silly, mostly the disgusting, to be honest. That's what most of the book is, 90% disgusting. And there's a lot of, objects in orifices, and they have to be documented.
But is it kind of like a if you don't laugh, you'll cry situation?
There's a bit of that. There's also, sometimes you're in a situation where, for various reasons, you can't burst out laughing in front of your patient. So, you're sat in clinic with an 85-year-old man telling you about this colossal butt plug he's using, and you have to sort of keep a straight face and say, and what size of arse master? But then, once that's happened, you need to decompress by writing it down or telling other people.
Exactly.
So I think that's a lot of am I allowed to say butt plug and arse master?
Absolutely.
It turns out I have.
Arse Master sounds like a great show, by the way. I reckon. Tom Gleeson has signed for that, I'm sure. So when they say we're going to turn this into a TV series, is it your call to go, Ben Whishaw, absolutely, gorgeous, has to be me?
Exactly that. Because my character in the show is a lot more of an arsehole than I am in real life. So I think if millions of people around the world, as it turns out, are going to think this guy's a bit of an arsehole, he might all be devastatingly attractive. Yes. So that in people's head, that's what I am. Bit tricky, but gorgeous.
I want to hear Ben talking about butt plugs.
Well, I've got exactly the show for you to watch.
Oh, great, thank you.
Now, Adam, you've had a career change. You were a doctor, obviously, but have you got any advice for anyone umming and ahhing about whether or not they should become a doctor?
So I think it's the best job in the world. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's the most rewarding thing I ever will do. But it's something to do with your eyes wide open. And I think that when I went into medicine, I didn't quite know what I was letting myself into. I had this sort of rose-tinted ER version of what the job was going to be without thinking about what the bad days look like. So I say to people, read a book like mine, and not just for financial reasons. I think it's worth knowing both sides of the coin.
What about for people who have parents who wish they went into medicine but they went into comedy? Any advice for those people?
Get out. Yeah, fine.
How do you feel when you are described as a comedian? Because I will say there are times when, when you're starting out as a comedian, they say it's good to have something to fall back on. For you, that's a medical degree, and screw you for that. But how do you feel having that term thrust upon you?
Well, I'm hilarious, so it works really well. Yeah.
No cable ties for you. Pass the test.
Well, tickets to Adam's show, This Is Going to Hurt, are available now. Head to our website for all the details. Could you please thank Adam Kay? And it didn't hurt a bit.
Didn't hurt a bit.
Thank you so much.
Tremendous bedside manner. That's it for tonight. Thank you also, Sharon Goodell, and not just for tonight, but the last few weeks. Tunny's coming back. Get ready. Thank you, Susie Youssef. Stick around for Airborne, Amanda Keller and bird footage. I'm in. We'll see you 6 o'clock for the Sunday Project. Have a good weekend.